All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing systems of equations, and this particular video is on solving by elimination. All right, we're going to be doing problems 2, 5, and 9. Let's start by looking at number 2. All right, the first thing I want to do is I want to look and see if there's a variable that I can eliminate right off the top. All right, and in this one, number 2, there is. So we have a negative x and a negative y and a positive y. So we can eliminate that. So let's start solving. All right, so that eliminates. All right, and then we're going to combine what we have here. We have a 2x and an x. That becomes a 3x is equal to, combine a negative 10 and a positive 7. That will be a negative 3. All right, and next step is to divide, because that's the opposite of multiplication there. Get rid of that, get rid of that. And that leaves us with x is equal to, excuse me, negative 1. Okay, so we have our x, but we don't have our y. Okay, and we know we want to end with an ordered pair, so I'll put that out here. It's going to be negative 1 for x. Okay, but now we need our y. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug that negative 1 into what we already had up top here. You could choose either one. All right, so let's do that. So x, in this case, is negative 1 minus y is equal to 7. And so let's solve for y. First thing we're going to do is add 1, get rid of that. Whatever you do on one side has to be done on the other. Add that, so that leaves us with a negative y is equal to 8. We can't just leave this here as a negative y. So what are we going to do? Remember, that's the same thing as negative 1. So we're going to divide a negative 1 from both sides. That's going to leave us with y is equal to negative 8. And so we have both points, negative 8. Very easy to figure out if you're doing this right, and I would definitely recommend it, is to plug both your points back into one of the equations. So let's do it to the top one here. We're going to plug in our points. So we have negative 1 minus a negative 8 is equal to 7. Okay, so negative 1 minus a negative 8 is the same thing as saying plus. So negative 1 plus 8 is 7, so we know that is the correct answer. All right, so let's look at number 5. All right, so we scan across this one, and we're looking to see if something can just be eliminated right from the beginning, and it cannot. So we have to make that happen. We have a y here, and we have a 2 there, so I always look at my lowest number to see if I can do the opposite of that on either the top or the bottom. Okay, in this case, it's a 2. I know if this was a negative 2y, that this would cancel out. So in order to make that happen, I have to multiply this entire side, this entire system by a negative 2. So let's do that. So negative 2 multiplied by all of that in there. So we're going to distribute. Negative 2 times 4x is negative 8x. Negative 2 times y is negative 2y. And then negative 2 times 1, make sure to put your equal sign there, is negative 2. Okay, and so we'll bring down the other equation that we had. There, x, 2y. All right, and so now we can get rid of y. We have a negative and a positive there, so that cancels out. We combine this here. We have a 9x and an 8x. That turns into just x. And we combine this side, a negative 2 and a positive 2 is a 0. So now that we have x is equal to 0, we can go ahead and plug that into one of our equations. And I'm going to go ahead and plug it into this one here to solve for y. And so let's do it out here to the left. So you have 4 multiplied by 0 plus y is equal to 1. And 4 times 0 is 0 plus y equals 1. So y is equal to 1. And so we have x. Oops, I'm sorry. We have your x value is 0 and your y value is 1. So if you were to plug both of these points back into the equation to see if it works, that'd be a 4 times 0. That would be 0. And then your y is the only thing left. It would be a 1, and 1 is equal to 1. That's a true statement, so you know that that's correct. Let's look at our last one, number 9 down here. Okay, so if you look at these numbers, you can't easily multiply 3 by something to get to 2, and both of these numbers are 3 and 2. So the only thing you can do is multiply both the top and the bottom by something in order to eliminate one of the terms. So in order to do that, we talked about it in class, we want to multiply by the opposite. So what that means is I'm going to multiply this 2 by the 3. So 3, multiply 3 by 3 on everything at the top, on the top here. And then on the bottom, we're going to multiply everything by 2. Now it's important to look at your signs. Okay, so this is a positive 2y, and this is a negative 3y. So we don't have to do anything with the signs. So we can literally multiply this by 3 and that by 2. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, just get the right color here. All right, so we're going to multiply this entire thing by the opposite, so that's a 3. And we're going to multiply this entire thing by a 2, and that's going to allow us to cancel out that y term. And so let's do that. 3 times 3 is 9x. 3 times 2y is 6y. 3 times 6 is 18. All right, we're done with that one. So let's do 2 times 2x. That is 4x. 2 times a negative 3y is a negative 6y. And then 2 times 17. What is 2 times 17? That is 34. So now we see that we have a positive 6y and a negative 6y. And so we can now eliminate that. So let's do that. Eliminate that. What's left on this side? You have a 9x and a 4x. That is a 13x is equal to 18 and 34 is 52. So then, next step is to divide by 13. It's the opposite of multiplication there. Whatever you do on one side has to be done on the other. That leaves us with x is equal to 4. All right, so we have our x value. Let's go ahead and put that down. 4. So now we need our y value. All we have to do is plug it in to one of the equations, plug x in, that is. So we're going to take that 4, and I'm going to plug it into this equation right here. So we have 2 multiplied by 4 minus 3y is equal to 17. We're going to multiply 2 times 4. That makes 8 minus 3y is equal to 17. And we're going to get rid of the 8 because we're looking to get that y by itself. Do that on both sides. That leaves a negative. We're gonna do it out here. That leaves a negative 3y is equal to 17 minus 8. That's 9. Gonna divide by negative 3 to get that off of that side. Divide by negative 3. That leaves y is equal to negative 3. So we write that in. And there you have it. All right, so feel free to go back, watch this as many times as you can. If you're struggling with this, you can pause, rewind, etc. Hope it helps.